Here we go, back into the book, chapter 5. We're continuing our discussion with the idea of gender in language. If you remember recent chapters, we talked about like français, française, anglais, anglaise, and those words change based on the gender of the person you're talking to. Well, we're going to continue that idea because as you can see down at the bottom here, we have a list of words to talk about boys and a list of words to talk about girls. And this is page 37 in your textbook, by the way. On page 37 at the bottom there you see this UN, or as we learned the number 1 basically, right? For all these guys who happen to be guys or boys. And une, U-N-E, like we learned une, right? Une, for all these people who happen to be girls. And so we continue that idea of gender, not just français and française, but other words too, more so than in English, will change based on if it's a guy we're talking about or a girl we're talking about. So not just the un and the une change, but you can see even the word like boy, garçon, girl, fille changes. Yes, that's the same thing in English. Girl, boy, 2 different words. Okay, but look at the word friend here, ami. Ami. It sounds the same in both the boy and the girl form, but there's an E added. And we talked about that earlier too, how sometimes a lot of feminine things will have an E added to it to know that it's a girl you're talking about. That's why there's an E on française and anglaise and Canadienne and Americaine and so on. Okay, so let's dive in here and learn these words here. First, the important thing is that you say like you got punched in the gut. Say whenever you see a UN. So try that now. Repeat after me. Because the difference is over here, the girl form is une. So say that, une. Okay, so the difference is une. Une. And make sure you say that difference every time because it affects the words after it. Alright, and here are the words that you need to know based on gender. We have un garçon, garçon. Un ami. Ami is that word there. Un copain. Copain. Again, don't say that N like you don't say the N on Canadienne. We already know this word. Un monsieur. Un monsieur, that's like a mister, but you know, a gentleman is that same concept in English. And un prof, short for professeur or professor, who is a professor but a teacher. Okay, so un prof, talking about a guy teacher. So again, all those were guys. Un garçon, un ami, un copain, un monsieur, un prof. Versus the girl forms, une, again remember that's une, not un, so une fille, une amie, une copine, une dame, and une prof. Notice prof is the same word. There's not even an E added here in the girl form for women teacher, a woman teacher, but the une is on there adding the E for the woman teacher. So un prof for a male teacher, une prof for a female teacher. Okay? So going back and forth, boy to girl, actually would probably make it more easy to understand the differences between these. Okay? So repeat after me actually. Un garçon, une fille, un ami, une amie, un copain, une copine, un monsieur, une dame, un prof, une prof. All right, so we got to get those words memorized and those sounds memorized so that you're able to start using them in sentences. We're going to give you phrases in a little bit to put those into. Okay, some tricks to help remembering these. Garçon, you probably have seen movies where people say garçon when they're talking to a waiter at a French restaurant. You don't want to do that because what you've said basically is boy, and it's kind of a racist, rude thing to say. So if you're trying to get a waiter's attention, go s'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît is please, and then they'll come over and help you. But garçon is the word for a boy. Okay, it like we say bus boy, or who's the guy at the restaurant, the guy or at a hotel that takes your luggage. It's gone. It was there. It's gone. But we'll use that as a part of a title, like the water boy at a football game, right? That's okay. Use it as a title, but you don't want to just say boy. You're going to use it as a part of a phrase. So don't call the waiter boy, basically. Don't say garçon to a waiter. Go s'il vous plaît, and the waiter will come over. Okay? And he might be a boy, but don't want to use that title. Okay? And then fille is where we get the word filly in English. And filly is a girl horse, right? So that might help you remember the difference between garçon and fille. Ami, ami, same exact sound for both of those, just adding an E for the girl one. Copain, copine. Okay, copain, copine. So there's a difference at the end of the sound to help you know which one is which. Monsieur and dame, totally lady. Dame is short for madame, which we learned before is Mrs., right? And prof, exactly the same. So memorize those because we're going to add say or set in front of it. Okay, none of this is pronounced say, like say Patrick, that's Patrick. But with the vowel U after it, and a lot of these all these have a U there. Okay, that vowel changes that say to set, because now we have to say that T. So we're going to go say Patrick, no vowel sound, but set un copain, set un garçon, that's a friend, that's a boy. Set un monsieur, that's a gentleman. Set un prof, that's a teacher. Okay? And the girl ones, again, set une fille, that's a girl. Set une amie, that's a friend who happens to be a girl. Set une copine, that's a friend who happens to be a girl. Set une dame, that's a lady. Set une prof, that's a teacher who happens to be a girl. Okay? So the idea here is that we use that's or it's or he's or she's, all those things in English that set or say in French. Qui est is the question that goes with that. Qui est is who is it. Qui est, who is it, or who is that. The s is also the word that in French. So if you hear a knock, you know, qui est, who is it, okay? But if we're talking about somebody over there, you know, and I go, qui est, who's that, and you know who I'm talking about, that's the difference. It's the same phrase in French. You just have to think of that, the it and that is interchangeable in English. Qui est, who is it? C'est un ami, it's a friend. Okay? Then you also have voici and voila. You've heard of voila before. Magicians used to do that when they pulled a rabbit out of the hat. They go voila. Okay? What is voila? And it sounds like voila, but if you hear it slowly, it's voila. That V sound is pronounced, but it disappears when you're saying it quick. Voila, voila. You hear it there? And voila is, there it is, basically. So when he pulls a rabbit out of the hat, voila, there it is. There's the rabbit out of the hat. So voila is like there's. So voila, Philippe. There's Philip. Okay. Voila, Isabelle. There's Isabelle. So we're using those names that we learned way back in the first day. Okay. And then voici is here's. Voici is here's. So voici Jean-Paul. Here's Jean-Paul. Voila, Philippe. There's Philip. Voici Jean-Paul. Here's Jean-Paul. Voila, Philippe. Voila, Philippe. There's Philippe. Okay. And the difference, though, between voici and voila is really the relationship to where they are in space. You know, if I can say, here's my book, there's my book. Nothing really changed about the book, just where it is in relationship to me. Same thing with voici and voila. And then tien only comes up once in a while. Tien, it's like the letter T and the letter N put together. Tien is like, hey, or look, or say. It's that kind of stuff. It's a way to get people's attention at the beginning of a sentence. So I might say, tiens, voilà Patrick. Hey, there's Patrick. Okay? So that's how it all fits together. The key, though, is memorize not just what these words are, garçon, ami, but know that the boy ones are un garçon, un ami, un copain. Okay? And know these ones are not just girl words, fille, ami, and copine, but you have to also know it's une fille, une amie, une copine, une dame, and so on. Because in French, if you can't say, you don't learn just the word girl. You have to learn that it's une fille, because later on the words that we learn to describe the girl are going to change based on whether it's un or une. Okay? So, practice those, and if you are unsure how to say these things or how to say un or une, go back and take a look at the video again.